Hi, my name's Chris Miller. I'm an independent game designer from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm working on a project called Ankur Kingdom of the Gods. I've been working on this project for about 5 years. I've already plugged in about $10,000 of my own money. So needless to say, the success or failure of this project is probably going to affect my marriage. um, but it's something I've always wanted to do. I've always been an avid gamer. I started playing tabletop role-playing games back in the early 80s, and I was a big fan of Dungeons and Dragons and even Pathfinder and things like that. More recently. When I started with this game, I was going to go more a traditional D20 route. I decided against that because it ended up being similar to a game of Jenga. I found that every time I took a rule that I didn't like out, it caused the system to kind of crumble. And I was going to add so many house rules that it just didn't seem practical, and I thought, why not just create a whole new system? Ankur runs on a D12 system. All you need is a single 12-sided die to play the game. All conflict resolution is essentially handled through something I like to call an APN. That's an action potential number. Your action potential number is derived from your skill level and the accompanying stat for that skill. You take that number and you want to roll less than that on a D12. Now, if you roll a 1 is always a success, but never a critical success. A 12 is always a critical failure, however. And to get a critical success, you need to roll your exact APN number. For example, if you had a 7 as your APN, you would want to roll an exact 7 in order to do a critical success. This game has a lot of core mechanics. They're a little different than I think are usual, and I try to improve upon things whenever I can and use a lot of innovative ideas. Aside from the APN rule, what I wanted to incorporate was a toughness system that could be used with all objects within the game. So rather than have kind of an arbitrary number of hit points for a character and then have possibly a critical damage chart for weapons, and you may have the ability to break a weapon using that, I decided that all weapons, all armor, all people, a wall, a tree, a door, everything has a toughness. That toughness is based on the material that object is made of. And whenever you want to, say, damage an object, you would just compare compare the toughness of the weapon being used with the toughness of the object being hit. You then take the lower number, subtract it from the higher, and for every 5 points over the defending toughness, you create a wound. Now, if you end up taking toughness that is less than 5, you count that as a stun effect. Now, stun effects don't really count for much with most inanimate objects other than weapons, but stunning a person creates a -1 to all of their future APN rolls for that next turn. This can quickly build up in a battle of attrition with the stun effect, and you can then cause someone to effectively not be able to roll successfully in their next turn. One other thing that really got me when I started playtesting this game, and I decided to make some changes because of that, was many of the players thought it was initially too easy to die. I actually had one player in particular who spent about an hour creating a character and took a lucky arrow shot to the head and was dead within the first 10 minutes of the game. So I decided to revise the rules concerning that. I did heavily revise the crit table. I took out the hit locations altogether. And I decided that I wanted the players themselves to be able to determine what happens with their character when they're mortally wounded. So characters in Ankur who are taken to a 0 toughness are able to choose either to lose their armor in lieu of taking that deadly last the deadly last blow. The armor is destroyed and they're kept at 1 toughness. They can choose to take a stat of their choice down to 1, symbolizing a crippling injury. There's also something called karma points in this game, which are very similar to fate points. You can cash in karma points to negate a wound on a 1-for-1 basis. You can also use karma points to re-roll failed rolls during combats and that sort of thing. But the other option is that you can choose to stay mortally wounded. You have 5 rounds before you bleed out, in which you could be healed by a healer or something like that. But if you do end up dying, in this game you are allowed to continue playing as a ghost. When you become a ghost, you do get a whole new set of skills that start at a 1, so you have a 1 in 12 chance of success with these. They're not very good, but you can increase them just like you could any other skill using experience. And ghosts have the ability to walk through walls and commune with the living. They can manipulate objects and learn how to become corporeal. The one caveat to becoming a ghost is that in Ankur, ghosts are vampiric in nature. So you do have to consume blood in order to retain your essence. Otherwise, your spirit just dissipates into electromagnetic energy, and you become one with the universe, but are no longer able to play it as a character. In fact, this goes back to real Sumerian mythology. They did believe that ghosts would drink the blood of the living, and Sumerians used to quite frequently put out bowls of blood at cemeteries in hopes that the ghosts would feed on that rather than bother the villagers. So I decided to incorporate that into the game. Needless to say, you can't have a lot of ghosts running around blood-sucking people, so the powers that be have declared that being a ghost is illegal. Now, they have a special class that you can play called an Irhandi, and Irhandi are essentially ghostbusters, if you will. They're psionicists who specialize in dealing with the dead. The governments have created the Irhandi to essentially combat the problem of having too many ghosts. So if you do play a ghost, you have to kind of be careful and not make your presence known to everyone. In this game, I also decided not to separate movement and combat within into different phases within combat. So what you need to do is essentially just determine your rate of movement. Your rate of movement then determines the number of actions you're able to conduct within that combat phase. For example, if a character chooses to run, you may move your entire running distance, and you can do that in any increment you wish. You don't have to move the full rate. But if you run, you can only commit 1 action at the end of that run at a -4 penalty. If you jog, which is a slightly shorter distance, you can also get 1 attack, but at no penalty. If you choose to walk, you can walk that distance with 2 attacks and no penalty. Or if you choose to stay put, you can get up to 6 attacks as long as you are proficient in that skill. If you're not proficient in the skill that you're attempting, then you can only get a maximum of 3 attacks. You can break up the movement any way you want, so you can move a little, do your attacks, and then move again. You can move your full movement and attack at the end, or you can do your attacks first and then move, however you like. When I was designing this game, my my play testers for the first 6 months or so were my wife and her two siblings, who none of which had ever played a role-playing game. I was told quickly by my wife that the mechanics were too crunchy, and so I had to scale them back a bit. And I wanted this to appeal to a newer generation of gamers as well. I know that a lot of people interested in role-playing games now are of a younger age, and to get them more interested in the game and to get them into this kind of a thing, I thought they have to be simple, easy to understand. That's why I only use one die for everything in the system. There are no D20s. They're on very rare occasion you may use a percentile die to help establish personality traits or something like that during character creation, but other than that, D12 is used for all conflict resolution. The setting itself is primarily based on ancient Sumerian mythology, along with some of the ancient astronaut theory and books like Frank Herbert's Dune and Cthulhu and things like that. I was very heavily influenced by a lot of the books that I read, as a child, and I'm very interested in the paranormal and that sort of thing as well. So there are elements of that in the game. Essentially, the background for the game world is that a race of alien beings from the planet Nibiru, which is located in our own solar system beyond Pluto, decided that in order to save their world, they need to create something called mana. And the way that they create mana is through the manipulation of gold, or monoatomic gold powder. Gold is not very plentiful on Nibiru, but they did find lots of it on Earth. The only problem with that is when they got to Earth and they started mining, these otherwise immortal aliens started to live human lifespans when they stayed on Earth for any given time. This caused a revolt with the workers and a subsequent rebellion. At the end of this rebellion, they decided that the best act that they could do would be to create a human slave race to mine the gold for them. About 30,000 years ago, Earth had 2 moons, and one of these moons, through a cataclysmic event, left orbit and caused a worldwide flood. The aliens then left, came back 3,600 years later to find that some of the humanoid races they had created still exist. They reestablished contact, built new cities, and started everything back to normal. Some of the human cities, however, were a little more independent and didn't necessarily want to be ruled by these alien gods. Some cities were more than happy to ally themselves with them. And then you have barbarians and nomads who live out in the wilderness who really don't care too much for either side. There are 7 different professions in the game, all of which have guilds that govern their actions. Most of the guilds have alien patrons, although a few are run by humans. There are 5 distinct character species you can play. There are the Adamu, who are the humans, named after the first successful human male that they created, named Adam. Then there are the Baloo. Baloo is a word in Sumerian that just means half man. The Baloo are 2.5 to 3 feet tall. They're essentially dark-skinned pygmies with large black eyes. They're able to see in the dark, and they're very quick and agile, and much like a chimpanzee, they're able to run on all 4s, which gives them increased speed. Then you have the Girma. The Girma are essentially just Neanderthals. They're tougher and stronger than the humans, but not quite as intelligent, just a slight decrease in intelligence. You also have the Enkidu. The Enkidu are Sasquatches or Yeti. I like to think that they're a throw off of the or an offshoot of the Gigantopithecus. They were created to do hard manual labor and lift monolithic loads and that kind of a thing. They're very strong, not too bright, but incredibly loyal. Most of them live out in the wilderness, but they do from time to time get employed by various guilds and whatnot in the cities. And then you have the Mahdi, and the Mahdi are a alien-human hybrid that have cone-shaped, elongated craniums, and they're known to be human computers and mathematicians and great strategists, and they also tend to have psionic powers. So essentially, what do you do in a world like this? And I've had people ask me if the guilds control most of everything, or if I do use a caste system in this game. The professions are actually called castes, and there are higher and lower castes. What are the implications of that? What can you do in the game? What's the dynamic of an adventure? And I like to think it's very similar to, in a lot of respects, to D&D, in that there are lots of chances for dungeon crawls. Particularly the human cities are vying for power with the aliens that are taking over the world. And in order to compete with them in any kind of a strategic level or in combat, they have to find alien technology. And one way they do this is to dig up pre-flood alien tech from the cities that were destroyed when the moon had left the Earth. And so they send characters out all the time for these expeditions and recovery missions, and even missions to steal tech from other cities. There's a lot of politics and intrigue within the cities themselves, between the guilds, and even within the same guild sometimes. There is an underworld to this game that is ruled by a class called the Naru. The Naru are essentially entertainers, and they seem fairly mundane on the surface, but they run all the circuses and the wrestling matches and the gladiatorial matches and all the actors and even prostitution. But they very quickly found out that acrobats make really good cat burglars, and prostitutes make very good spies, and gladiators can make pretty good assassins. So the Naru tend to run the underworld in Ankur, and there are several cabals and whatnot in every city that could offer many adventure hooks in and of themselves. So I've been playtesting this all through the spring so far. We've done 4 conventions, and I've probably playtested this about 20 different times just within the spring. In addition to the independent playtests that I've done with my own gaming group at home. And I think we've just about knocked out everything, all the chinks in the armor, and we're about 90% done with the book. I've got a couple of chapters I'm still revising, and we have made some changes because of the playtest we've done here, and so I've got to get those typed up and in a digital format. We're going through editing right now, and I do expect that the book will be ready within a couple of months, certainly by the end of the summer. We are in the middle of our KickStarter right now. I launched a KickStarter about 2 weeks ago. We still have, I think, 19 days or something like that left. The goal I'm looking for is $5,000. We've already hit and surpassed the $2,500 mark. So I have all confidence that we'll meet our goal and get these things published pretty soon. I would, however, like to overfund if possible. Not for my benefit. I'm not going to make any profit off of this. As many people who have done Kickstarters know, you're really just asking for enough to fund the project. And I like to tell people I'm the one writing the game, but it's your project. What kind of game do you want to see? How much do you want out of your Kickstarter? I've got a ton of ideas that I would like to see fulfilled with stretch goals and add-ons and things like that. We have not met any stretch goals yet, although we're close on one. But I'd like to create some extra content and get that out there as well. So take a look at the website. If you can, take a look at the Kickstarter and maybe make a pledge. Certainly I'd appreciate sharing it with all your other gamer friends and things like that. And we look forward to producing Ankur in a real hardbound core rules book in the near future.